Evening and welcome to the Tuesday, July 14th, 2020 meeting of the Ashland Zoning Board of Appeals. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast by WACA. And as I've said before, the town of Ashland, in response to the COVID-19 coronavirus, is currently following the guidance from the Ashland Board of Health, Massachusetts Department of Public Health, and the CDC regarding the virus and steps communities can take to prevent the spread, and all town facilities are currently closed to the public. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, all public meetings are being conducted remotely. The following information is also provided for members of the public that would like to participate in the meeting remotely. To participate remotely from a computer, please use the link that is attached to the public meeting notice, or from a telephone. There is a telephone number that you can call in and enter the meeting ID and password. That having been said, I will call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the continued hearing for the special permit for 304-306 Union Street. Matter was continued from our June 23rd meeting. I don't believe I need to read the meeting notice again, but it is a special permit request for 304-306 Union Street. At our last meeting, we concluded with the request of the applicant to submit a revised site plan and specifically moving the space to park cars to the right of the property as you look at it on Clark Street. Ms. Keegan, the applicant's representative, was kind enough to attempt to do that, and in fact submitted a revised site plan reflecting that, dated July 7th, 2020. That revised site plan is entered into the record. There was also another revised site plan dated the same date, and it appears that there were some items that were removed for clarity's sake, and I'm not quite sure how to refer to that plan. Emma, do you have any suggestions what we should call that for the record? It appeared as though the plan had removed several of the dotted lines and other lines going all throughout the property to make it a little clearer to read and to focus on it, but I just wanted to be as accurate as possible for purposes of the record.
Yeah, I might recommend a site plan showing only building and parking area.
Okay, the site plan showing only the building and parking area then, and that so be it. And there was also submitted back on July 7th, a 2-page document entitled Web Soil Survey of the National Cooperative Soil Survey. As I said, 2 pages, and it referenced Middlesex County, Massachusetts. And that will also be entered into the record. That being said, we will proceed as we have done in the previous 2 nights of the hearing with the applicant's representative, Ms. Keegan, making her presentation. The board will then have an opportunity to ask questions, and the matter will then be opened for further public comment, and specifically we would ask public comment to be restricted to the revised plans that have been submitted and to not repeat questions or points that have made in previous proceedings. Sitting on this hearing this evening are myself, John Trefethen, and I would ask both Brian and Nathan to also identify themselves as being present, just so that we have an accurate record. Brian?
Brian Forrestall, I'm present.
And Nathan?
Nathan Band.
Okay.
Nathan Band, present.
Excellent. That being said, Ms. Keegan, would you be kind enough to sort of explain the revised site plan that you have given us dated July 7th?
Good evening. Yes, so I revised the parking area to the right side of the proposed building. I've added 3 parking spaces, a small turnaround so that they can exit the property face forward rather than backing out. I've kept 1 parking space in front of the parking garage itself, and of course the garage. So there are 4 cars that can be actually parked on the pavement and 1 in the garage. I've added a swale to the front to take care of the drainage that will be from the parking lot. It is a stone swale. I've included that soil survey to show you what the soils in that area would be, and they would be adequate for that particular swale and for the infiltrators for the roof runoff on the the left side of the building. The driveway itself at the roadway is 22 feet. That is adequate, and that is very, that's a safe way of putting that driveway in. The people that, the owner of the property can enter his area, and his tenants can enter their area without going into his or backing up to each other. It is a safe way to exit and enter on that property. Does anybody, I will add that the parking spaces are 10 by 20 foot, which is adequate. And the backup between the parking space and his garage, well, the edge of the pavement by his garage is 20 feet. So it's an adequate area to back out, turn into that little turning area, and exit to the street. Does the board have any questions?
I have one just for clarification. In the plan that I'm looking at, there's a dotted line almost in the shape of a 3-sided, maybe rhomboid, I would call it, that's partway in the proposed garage and then goes to the left of that. Is that something that is being eliminated? Or
Yep, that's
okay.
existing pavement that's to be removed, and it says it on, along with the existing pavement to be removed on the left, right hand.
Okay, yep, very good. Brian, do you have any questions of Ms. Keegan? Oops, you have to unmute yourself.
All right. Can you hear me now?
We can.
All right. I'm just looking at the plan while I'm trying to talk to you guys at the same time. And my question was the back out spot that you have towards the back of the property, I guess, seems really short. Is there a reason you can't make that a little bit bigger for them to get in and out, or?
I absolutely could. I could make that bigger. It's adequate to pull out and turn around.
Okay, as long as you say it's adequate, then I believe you, and that's fine with me then. Yeah, the rest looks great. Looks like that would take care of the parking issue that the abutters mentioned, and if everyone likes it, that's pretty cool.
Any other questions, Brian?
No.
Okay. Nathan, how about you? Anything at this point?
No questions.
Okay. I just want to note that under section 4.3.3, which includes special provisions for the neighborhood commerce district, which this property is in. Section 4.3.3, subparagraph 4, provides that not more than 35% of any front or exterior side yard shall be used for driveways. Our town planner and Emma, our assistant town planner, have calculated the revised site plan drawings with the asphalt parking lot to the right, and calculated that it comes to 34.4%. So that as the site plan is presently presented, it would meet that requirement. If the back had been extended out, I think, Brian, as you were perhaps asking, I would think that we probably would exceed the 35%. It would not be able to do it.
That's good to know somebody knows what they're doing. Yep.
Well, it wasn't me. Believe me, it was Peter and Emma that provided that information and did the calculations for us. Okay, that being said, if there are no other questions from the board members, I will open the
John,
matter.
just before
Yes.
you do that, John, I did have a question on the drainage system that they're proposing. Could you just elaborate on that, Karen?
So the swale in the front, I have not done the calculations. I'm gonna discuss that with the DPW. I was just asked to do some sort of drainage area. The calculations I will discuss with the DPW, because they're the ones that are or the building department. But that swale should be adequate for the size of the pavement that is going to be there, and it's mostly just going to be that parking area right there. And the house itself has its own infiltration, so the gutters from the house will be going into that infiltration system towards the left of the building. So not all of it goes into the swale area. And that swale will be a stone swale. So, you're not going to be able to park on it. It'll be at least 2 feet deep, if not deeper than that, depending on when we do size it. So it is not, to this moment, has not been adequately designed or sized. You asked me to do some drainage. I did some drainage. I will take that up with the DPW and/or / the building inspector.
Okay, I guess that's a pretty good answer. What if it doesn't work? What are we going to do then?
I would either make it smaller or larger. The swale area.
The swale area would become smaller or larger according to the DPW's recommendations?
Yes.
Okay, I think I'm okay with that.
Okay. Anything else? If not, we will open the matter for further public comment. And as I indicated, many of you have spoken at previous hearings. Your comments are part of the record, will be and have been taken under consideration. So I would ask, if possible, for you to limit your comments to the additional issues that may have been raised by the revised site plan. And I guess in order to be recognized, I will ask people to raise your hand. And I may not be able to see everybody that's on the screen because my screen is somewhat limited on an iPad, but I see 3 hands being raised: Mark Bissoni, Ms. Schofield, and Ms. Homer, I believe. So why don't we start off? I'll call upon Mark Bissoni. Mark, please identify yourself, name and address, and
Okay, thank you. Mark
speak
Bissoni.
up.
Mark Bissoni, 49 Hawthorne Road. I'm just going to ask the one quick question about the driveway. And I want to make sure, is that driveway square off with the lot width? Is it going to be extra edges, or it's just going to be just within the house and site lot lines? That's all. Thank you.
I'm not sure of what your question is, Mark. Is it going to be swaled in from the paved area of the parking, if that's what your question is?
Yes, that's part of it. I just wanted to just make sure all the property lines, the square front property lines, that the driveway is not going to impede or going over any line itself.
No.
So,
Nope. I've kept a small buffer around everything, especially the front yard.
okay, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Schofield, please. Identify yourself, name and address, please.
Hi, Mary Schofield, 8 Clark Street, abutting on the back, the Clark Street side. I spoke with Mr. Crucifoli, the building inspector, about the plan when I saw it, and he referred me to 5.4 and 5.1.3 because that parking lot is very close to our property. I want to say probably about 2 feet. And according to what Mr. Crucifoli directed me to, it says that the off-street parking area should be maintained within 10 feet. He said 10 feet is the norm between different people's properties. So I feel like that parking lot, I believe that parking lot is very close looking at the plan. The current way that's there is about 2.5 feet. And I would really hate to see a parking lot be put 2.5 feet from my property. My second point is something that you referred to, Mr. Trefethan, in the last meeting, which was about the fence. And Mr. Crucifoli, he confirmed what you said. And according to 5.4, general landscape buffer areas are required in all side and rear setbacks with no more than minor removal of existing trees and ground vegetation and screening perimeter land. So there will be a screen put up. All parking areas shall be screened. So those are my points. Those are my concerns, and I can either mute myself or answer any questions that anybody might have for me.
I'm unaware that there is a zoning bylaw stating that on a residential lot that I have to stay 10 feet off the property lines with a parking area, or any kind of screening either for the parking area for a residential lot.
It says, as far as general landscaping requirements, I'm just reading it now. All parking areas shall be screened, and which shall be at least 6 feet and shall create a strong visual impression of separation between the developed area of the site. So I'm just reading it, and I know Mr. Trefethan mentioned last meeting that a fence would perhaps be a good idea, and I spoke with my husband, and we both agree that a fence would make us feel a lot better about it. And Mr. Crucifoli's opinion was that there should not be and his opinion is from these two. He directed me to 2 spots to look at, that it should be 10 feet from the property, our property.
You already have a fence on that sideline, don't you, Mrs. Schofield?
Not buffering. No, we don't. We have a fence buffering my property from Ms. Homer's property, but it's open between my property and 304, 306.
No, a 6-foot fence is open, but you still have a fence, correct?
Not between 304, 306 and my property. No, there is not.
I located one when I was out there. There's not a metal fence between those two pieces of property?
There's a metal fence between my property and Ms. Homer's property.
With respect to section 5.1.3 setback, it states that no off-street parking area shall be maintained within 10 feet of a street, not an adjacent property line. And with respect to 5.4, Emma, help me out on this if you would. Section 5.4, general landscaping requirements. That's never been applied that I recall in special permit requests for residential properties. Is that something that applies to a residential 2-family as opposed to some kind of a commercial development?
So that's a great question. So my initial reading is that it generally applies to commercial areas because generally commercial areas have parking areas. So 5.4.1 subsection 1 would not apply because it is not a commercial service or industrial use. 5.4.1 subsection 2, I'll have to read closer. We don't define a parking area in our bylaws.
Can I ask which district this particular property is in?
Commercial neighborhood commerce.
And the other items of 5.5.4 refer to interior landscaping and parking areas, planting standards, and then landscaping and screening in a particular office commerce district, which is section 5.5. I mean, I don't recall ever having this applied to a residential property, which in essence this is.
I will note, so if 5.4.1 subsection 2 does apply, it would not address the side yard, the side lot line between the property in question and Ms. Schofield's property, because it does specify at the front lot line, so that would be along Clark Street.
Okay.
Doesn't answer our immediate question, but does clarify.
Okay. well, obviously, we're going to need to have an answer to that question if we're going to, whether it applies or not, because if the section applies, there may need to be some change to the, well, let me ask this question. Ms. Keegan, looking at the paved parking area, what is going to be in front of that going on to Clark Street?
Going on to Clark Street is that swale.
Is the swale, okay.
On towards Miss Schofield's property is not, but I do not think that my client would be objective to putting some sort of a screen there at the edge of the parking. So if Miss Schofield would like some sort of a screen there, we could do that, which could mean planting of arborvitaes, a small fence. That would be a screen. Even planting of arborvitaes would be a screen.
Okay.
Front of the parking area.
Mm-hmm.
Not running the whole entire property.
Right. No, I understand. Okay.
I don't think Hannah would be opposed to that.
Okay. Ms. Schofield, anything else at this point?
Well, I actually just planted some arborvitae in our yard, and I know they take a lot of care. They do require quite a bit of watering and care, otherwise they die off quickly. So I, based on the history of the property, when there's been very little attention taken to any sort of mowing of grass or property maintenance, I find it very hard to believe that the arborvitae are going to make it for that long. So I think my husband and I would probably prefer there to be a fence, something that really is low maintenance.
Very good, thank you. Ms. Homer, please identify yourself, name and address if you would, please.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Judy Homer, 294 Union Street, the abutter on 135. I have a couple of quick questions. One is the landscaping. You know, there's like a wooden fence there now and a lot of brush and everything. In the past, with Maxwell's permission, I've had to go cut back some of the shrubbery and bushes that get overgrown. It obstructs our view up 135 when we're trying to pull out of my driveway. Do you know, is that going to be grass now? I just need some reassurance that there's not going to be huge shrubs there, because I've had to go out and cut the brush back so I can see to get out of my driveway. It's a tricky area because a lot of cars coming down 135, a lot of times they'll step on the gas in order to make the light, which makes backing out onto 135 pretty hazardous.
You're talking about the West Union Street side?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Along where the sidewalk is. Currently, there's like an old wooden rail fence there, and there's these overgrown shrubs and everything, and I have to go out. I mean, with Maxwell's permission, he says, yeah, cut it back to where you can see, but can you tell me about the landscaping that's planned there? I would prefer there to be nothing obstructing my view.
I don't have any landscaping plans for that piece of property. It's up to what they want to do. We really didn't discuss landscaping. It's up to what they want to do. I mean, right now it's to be grassed, as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
That would be fine if it was all grass. It's just what's there And what's been there in the past, I've had to go cut it back in order to get out of my driveway. It's just a safety concern.
Okay, well, that is something that we could consider as part of a condition if we were to decide to grant the special permit. I think that would be most appropriate. Anything else, Ms. Homer?
I was just curious as to when construction would begin. I know I'm having my fence replaced because it's starting to rot and everything. So I was going to have that replaced, and I just wanted to find out when construction is going to begin. I didn't want there to be as far as.
That's not totally under the control of the applicant. I can provide you with a timeline from perspective of the Zoning Board of Appeals. If we were to decide to grant the special permit, the decision would not be finalized until the second Tuesday in August. Thereafter, it would be filed with the town clerk, and there is then a 20-day period in which anyone can file an appeal. Assuming there is no appeal, the special permit would become final. At that time, would be recorded in the Middlesex South Registry of Deeds, and then it would be up to the applicant when they would start construction.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. There's nobody else I can see on my screen that wishes to be heard. Is there anyone else? Emma?
No, this is Maxwell. Judy knows me. I'm 304.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Judy, we don't have any plans for trees or anything. We'll just leave it like grass. So as you back up, it'll be easy for you.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, what's existing there now.
Yeah. I remember that tree. Yeah.
Down continually.
Yeah, I remember that tree. Yeah, we'll leave it like grass.
Okay, so it'll just be grass.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Emma, is there anybody else on the screen indicating a desire to speak?
Do not see anyone, no.
Okay. Then let us close the public comment period.
John, I had one question just reading through these 5-point stuff. I came across 5.1.5, number 1. I'm not sure if that waives that 10-foot requirement or not, but I'm thinking it might.
Right, I don't believe 5.1.5 does apply in this situation because subsection 1 makes an exception of buildings designed, intended to be used, or occupied for residential use, which is this case.
And that's what this building is, right?
Yeah, so any following regulations would not apply in this case. So it waives off-street parking requirements for anything that's not residential.
Oh,
That's how I interpret it, yes.
okay. I'm reading it backwards then. All right. Sorry to interrupt. Carry on, please.
I do think I heard if public comment isn't closed, I do think there is one more comment, John.
Oh, okay. Then we will open the public comment, and I don't know who it will be, so if they can identify themselves and
Yes, I'm Hannah David. I'm Maxwell's wife. I just had a quick question. Is August 2nd week the earliest date the permit can be approved by the zoning board? I'm just asking the rule.
That would be the earliest date that the decision would be, the final written decision would be approved and voted on by the board. What I would expect us to do this evening is the 3 board members will discuss the matter and direct our assistant town planner, Emma, to draft a hearing decision in accordance with our discussion this evening, and then it would be reviewed and signed, whether the special permit is granted or denied. In either event, the decision would not be approved and signed until our first meeting in, joined by a cat, and our first meeting in the month of August. The open meeting law prohibits the board from taking action on matters in between our meetings when the public does not have access. So that is the earliest that things can be done.
John, don't we have a scheduled meeting on the 28th of July?
You know, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, so the next meeting would be the 28th of July.
I am either ahead of myself or behind. I'm not sure which, but you're right. This is the first meeting in July. So we would have a meeting on July 28th, so that what I said would take place on the second Tuesday of August, in fact, could take place on the 4th Tuesday in July, which would be July 28th.
Perfect. That was my question. Thank you.
I am sorry for the confusion that I caused.
Thank you.
Well, if there is no further public comment, why don't we close that? And for the board, why don't we open discussion? Our practice is to not close the hearing and enter into deliberations immediately, but rather keep the hearing open in the event that there are further questions that we have that come up during our discussion, and then discuss where we think we are and what we think our decision should be in this matter. With that being said, Brian, why don't we start with you? This is a request for special permit. Because we are a 3-member board, it needs to be a unanimous decision. And we are now dealing with the third and final site plan that was dated July 7th.
I like the plan and all, but I'm just concerned about Ms. Schofield's comments relating to the 5.4 stuff. I don't know where we stand on that. Are we going to ask for screening and fencing, and is it even allowed to put this stuff within 10 feet of their property? I've never really looked into this particular thing. So I'm inclined to go forward with this special permit, but I need clarification on that to like fully be on board.
I'm pretty sure that Hannah would not object to putting a screen at that end of the parking area.
Okay, I'm good with that. But then there's that one part about you can't put anything within 10 feet of the property line. That kind of makes our plan a problem, I think, right? Because we're just a couple feet off the line.
So
No, it was
5
within 10 feet of a street, wasn't it?
yes.
Not
Oh.
the property line, a property
Yeah.
line, but it was within 10 feet of a street.
Oh.
And as the plan is, I believe we're well beyond 10 feet.
are.
Are we not, Ms. Keegan?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Oh, I thought it was the property line. Okay. Then yeah, I'm a go.
Okay.
So if I could make a comment, John.
Sure.
So I believe the outstanding question is about the buffering on the front area.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry that I'm now trying to flip back to. The screening on the front lot line for the parking area. And I'm happy to reach out to council and get a determination of whether this applies to a residential case after the meeting. We know that in the next meeting.
Okay. Well, I'd hate to put everything on hold just to get an answer for that question. And if the answer were to come back that it didn't apply, then we'd be basically picking up where we are now.
If I could
if
suggest not putting it
doing
on
something-
hold.
But
And
doing
instead-
something, I was going to say, doing something provisionally, subject to confirmation from town council on the applicability of that section. Would that work?
Yes, or if we find that it does apply, you could put as a condition in a decision that they must comply with it. You know, if you don't need to see that landscaping plan, instead it's just a question of that they have the buffer.
Okay.
You can put that they must, if the answer comes back that it does apply, you can put in a condition that they must comply.
Okay. Nathan, your thoughts on the matter, this application? Oops, you're on mute.
Sorry. Is that better?
There we go. Perfect.
All right. Yeah, I like the plan as it was presented today. I think it addresses all the concerns that have been raised. I like Emma's solution to the outstanding question about, what was it, 5.113 or whatever the provision was. I think it makes a lot of sense to draft a decision, and then if we find out that that provision applies, a special condition can be included as part of that.
Okay. I too like the most recent plan. I do think we obviously need to place conditions on the approval, but we also need to make findings pursuant to section 9.3.2 in granting a special permit if we choose to grant the permit. And it sounds as though all three of us are in favor of that. And 9.3.2 provides that special permits may be granted by the granting authority unless otherwise, only upon its written determination that the adverse effects of the proposed use will not outweigh its beneficial impacts to the town or the neighborhood in view of the particular characteristics of the site and of the proposal in relation to that site. And in addition to any specific factors that may be set forth in the bylaws, the determination shall include consideration of each of the following, and they list 6 factors. And in the application that was filed, Ms. Keegan addressed some of the issues and what she thought the evidence would show. And item number 1 is community needs served by the proposal. And I would suggest that the evidence shows that a special permit would allow construction of a 2-family home on what is now an empty lot, with the prior building having been destroyed and removed by a catastrophe. Item number 2 is traffic flow and safety, including parking and loading. And I would submit that the revised plan of July 7th addresses the issue of parking and traffic flow and safety, making it much safer for the neighbors and the neighborhood to have traffic and cars coming from one locus instead of multiple locuses. Item number 3 is adequacy of utilities and other public services. It's a property that's served by public utilities, water and sewer. So there would certainly, it was adequate before and would certainly seem to be adequate now. Item number 4 was neighborhood character and social structures. The neighborhood on Clark Street is a neighborhood of residential homes, many of them being 2 stories. And this will also be a 2-story residential building. So it would seem to be consistent with the neighborhood character. Impacts on the natural environment. There would not seem to be any significant impacts that were not already there under the pre-existing building that was destroyed and removed. And the swale and the infiltrators also would seem to adequately provide for proper environmental conditions. And number 6, potential fiscal impact, including impact on town services, tax base, and employment. I would submit that a completed 2-story residential building featuring 2 4-bedroom apartments would improve the tax revenue from the town compared to an empty lot. Would not seem to take any additional requirement for town services, and as far as employment is concerned, would have a negligible impact on employment in the town of Ashland. Does that sound like a fair summary of the special permit conditions under 9.3.2 that Brian and Nathan, you're comfortable with?
Brian is comfortable with it.
Nathan?
Nathan.
Okay. As far as conditions are concerned, I would suggest that with respect to the swale, that a condition would be that the applicant comply with all DPW requirements for the swale and any other drainage issues with the property. Would that be appropriate? Brian, Nathan?
Nathan, yes.
Brian, yes.
With respect to the area in front of the parking area, I think I suggest we need a condition concerning shielding, as it were. A reference came up to arborvitae, and as an owner that has arborvitae, I understand that they tend to require a fair amount of care. And is there another suggestion about some other kind of landscaping other than arborvitae? Brian or Nathan, do you have any thoughts on that?
Is there a problem with just putting a fence up?
I don't think there would be.
Is that an issue?
So what
for
kind
anybody?
of a fence?
A 6-foot stockade fence? Just a wooden fence, is that?
I mean, that would work for me. That would be fine.
I think that was mentioned, and that seems totally fine.
Okay. Then we'd have a condition that there'd be a 6-foot stockade fence in front of the parking area, shielding it from the street. And perhaps...
Wait a minute, John. Was it shielding from the street or from the neighbors?
From the neighboring lot, right? That was
the neighboring
my
lot?
understanding of the...
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I misspoke then. From the neighboring lot. And with respect to the parking area in the street, a condition for anything in there, or just leave it blank?
I don't think it needs anything. It's just 3 cars in a driveway, essentially.
Driveway. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. What about a condition for the side of the property that fronts on West Union Street that Ms. Homer had talked about with the tree and shrubs? I know the applicant had indicated that there were no plans for trees. It would be grass. So I would think there would be no opposition to a condition that area be a grassy area.
I have no problem with it if it's not breaking any of the rules or anything. That's fine with me.
Okay, Nathan, how about for you?
It seems fine. Yeah.
Any other conditions? Obviously, approval would be conditioned upon building and construction in accordance with the plan submitted on July 7th. Are also our usual conditions about complying with any and all other laws and bylaws of the town of Ashland. Those are the usual conditions that we apply to any special permit. And that would cover the question about section 5.4.2, I would think. Anything else by way of conditions? Nathan, Brian?
Brian, I'm good.
Good. Nathan, all set?
I'm good.
Oh, okay, then Emma, you've heard our discussion, and we will ask you to draft a decision in accordance with our discussion and distribute it to the board when it is ready prior to our July 28th meeting, at which time we will review the draft decision and proceed with the formal votes on the application. Is that satisfactory with everybody? Brian, Nathan, Emma?
Brian, it satisfies me.
Okay, and Nathan's saying yes, and Emma's shaking her head
Works
yes.
for me.
So
Can we confirm that all members of the board are available for the meeting on the 28th, just because it's the summer?
very good place. Good, very good idea. Nathan, will you be available?
I will.
Okay, and Brian, how about you?
Yes, I'm available.
And I am available because I have nothing else to do. So we are in good shape then for July 28th. Very good. That I guess we need a motion to continue the hearing to Tuesday, July 28th at 7 p.m. Nathan, would you like to make that motion? Oh, Brian made the motion. Nathan, would you like to second it?
Well, I'll second it.
Okay,
I'll second
and
it.
we have to vote by name. I, John Trefethen, approve the motion.
I, Brian Forrestall, approve the motion.
I, Nathan Band, approve the motion.
Very good. That concludes the hearing this evening for 304, 306 Union Street. Thank you very much, everybody. Now, we have a couple of items of additional business which we can move on to. As soon as I find my notes. Item number 2 on the agenda is listed as election of officers. That was put on our agenda by mistake. It is premature. We typically do not elect officers until after August 31st, when people's terms are up. The associate members' terms expire on August 31st. Stuart Siegel's term expires on August 31st. Brian's term and my term go on to, one is 2021 and one is 2022. So typically we wait for our first meeting in September to choose the officers for the coming year. So I would ask that we withdraw the item number 2 for election of officers as being premature. And do we need a formal vote on that, Emma, or we just don't deal with it? Okay. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for our June 23rd, 2020 meeting. Emma prepared a draft and sent that out to each of us on last week. Anybody have any questions or proposed changes with the minutes? Excuse me.
I don't.
Okay, Nathan? No, they look good to me. Then a motion to approve the minutes of the June 23rd, 2020 meeting. Nathan, would you like to make that motion?
So moved.
Okay, and Brian?
I second it.
Okay, all in favor? Aye, John Trefethen in favor.
I, Brian Forrestall,
Aye,
in favor.
And
I think I heard
Nathan
Nathan tagging in there as well. Okay, that is it. The next item would be any administrative matters. Emma, is there anything for us to discuss on that area?
No, I have no updates today.
Okay, nothing further in the pipeline for any further applications?
No, not that I've heard of.
Okay, very good. Then I guess we are ready to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn our meeting until Tuesday, July 28th at 7 o'clock?
So moved.
Okay.
I second.
Brian, all in favor? Aye. John Trefethen in favor.
I, Brian Forrestall, in favor.
I, Nathan Band, in favor.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you, WACA, and good night, everybody.